Olga, is that you? Wearing picture glasses? Okay. Agent Olga, thank you.
She's with Attorney Alice Acquitban Egg, sir.
Morning, Your Honor.
Alice, yes. Misha.
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you kindly unmute para we can... Could you kindly unmute,
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you kindly mute your... Please go ahead.
Sir, from the PNP, we have the Chief of Women and Children Protection Center, Brigadier General Alessandro Abella.
General Bell, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And from the CIDG, sir, we have Brigadier
Yes, CIDG. Joe Mark, are you still around?
Yes, sir. From the same officer, Women and Children Protection Center, we have Major Tamayo Ciprian, sir.
Could you please raise your hand, Major?
Good morning, sir. Good
Where are
morning,
you?
sir.
Good
Just a moment, sir.
I can't see you. Where are you?
Good morning, sir. Sir,
Just-
good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm trying to find your picture.
Here, sir. Good morning, sir.
Could you press show video? So I can see.
I just did, sir. I just did, sir.
Oh, there you are, up there. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This mask are really a hindrance. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes,
from the Philippine Commission on Women, we have Attorney May Zaira Cuevas.
May, are you there?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Your Honors.
Hi, May. Are you related to Justice Cuevas?
No, I'm not related
He
to
was
this.
my professor. It was a good one. Go ahead.
From the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population Development, we have the Executive Director, Mr. Romeo Dongueto.
Good morning,
And she's-
Chair. Magandang umaga po, Your Honor.
Ano mga say wrong? All right.
And is with Ms. Nenita Dalde, Advocacy and Partnerships Manager and CRN Focal Person.
Nanita? Hi, how are you? Okay, thank you very much. Is that it?
We still have, sir, from UNICEF Philippines, UPPJ Child Protection Unit, Dr. Bernadette Madrid.
Bernadette. Hi, Bernie, how are you? Good morning.
And from the Women's Legal and Human Rights Bureau, Inc., Executive Director, Ms. Helen Paclarin.
Helen?
Good morning, Senator. It's Jelen, Senator.
It's
Morning.
Jelen.
Ajay.
Mr. Something. Kindly unmute this. Mute. Attorney Alice Acquit Baneg. Kindly mute yourself.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. We'll try to proceed. Go ahead, John Mark.
That's all, sir. That's for our guest for statutory rape bill, sir.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to see all your beautiful faces and handsome demeanor, handsome faces today. Today we're going to speak about discuss a very important bill. These bills on the matter of increasing the age of determining statutory rape, which should have been done a long time ago, and other forms of sexual abuse. Are the following: Senator Risa Hontiveros, Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri, Senator Leila de Lima, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy Binay, Senator Amy Marcos, Senator Bong Revilla, and also my bill, Senate Bill number 1852, and Senator Edgardo Emangara, Senate Bill 1268, that is for imperfect title. That is a bill that we should be doing later on. The Philippine Institute for Development Studies and the Land Management Bureau have given their position papers for the bill. I'm sorry, on imperfect title. I'm sorry, I'm getting myself mixed up here. The first matter here is the discussion of the bills on statutory rape. We are here today to give support as part of the government's commitment to ensure that children grow up in a safe environment, protected from crime and violence, and to respect and fulfill the rights of all children. The Philippines has the lowest age of sexual consent in Asia and one of the lowest in the world. We advocate to increase the age of sexual consent through multi-sectoral partnerships with the judiciary, social welfare, education, and health sectors, as thousands of children are robbed of their youth. You can see on the map, California is 18, UK is 16, France is 15, Argentina beats us by 1 year, and the Philippines is the lowest, 12. Japan has 13. And we therefore want to do this with the other sectors in our society, like the judiciary, social welfare, education, and health sectors, as thousands of children are robbed of their youth. The physical emotional effect creates lasting scars, emotional and physical, psychological ones, that the damage can last a lifetime. The bills on statutory rape seek to provide stronger protection for children from sexual abuse. I understand the bills differ on the proposed age, but we will all agree to ensure that the appropriate protection against sexual violence will be prioritized and gifted to every child in the Philippines. We will take up the second matter of the hearing later on, but in the meantime, let me get all the Senator Aimee, Senator Lisa, to speak on their proposals, please. Go ahead.
Yes, please, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to thank the chairperson of the Committee on Justice for hearing the bills on raising the age of statutory consent, including my own Senate Bill number 163, as the chair mentioned. This is a bill of particular importance to me. This is not only because even in normal times, approximately 1 in 5 children aged 13 to below 18 years old experiences some form of sexual violence, a chilling statistic in itself, but because new data is emerging that demonstrates that disasters, pandemics, and economic uncertainty put children, particularly girls, at greater risk for gender-related violence. It's absolutely scandalous that the age of sexual consent in the Philippines is the second lowest in the world, as already partly illustrated by the slide of the chair. Given the important inroads that we have made for women and girls in this country in other aspects of our lives. Hindi ko na po ito patatagalin pa, Mr. Chair. I laud the Committee on Justice and look forward to the passage of this historic legislation. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Can we have Senator Marcos, please? Aimee?
Thank you very much, Chairman Gordon. And like Senator Risa, we give thanks for your quick hearing of this urgent, long overdue measure. The rates for teenage pregnancy in the Philippines have alarmed not only our justice system, those in our justice system, but even the World Bank, given that it has become a truly economic problem. Further, consistent to the PNP records, rape remains at the top of the list in the number of crimes being committed. Further, there is the disgraceful fact that is quoted time and again by observers and scholars that the Philippines has become the global epicenter of child pornography. I think this age of consent at 12 years old does not help in any of these issues. Let me just highlight the sweetheart provision, the sweetheart provision in Senator Risa, and if I may be allowed, I am in full agreement with her proposal that if the victim is under 18 years of age, even though none of the circumstances above prevail, there shall be no criminal liability between the perpetrator and the victim between 14 and 18 years of age. May I simply add, Mr. Chair, for your consideration, that they should both be minors on the date of the commission of the crime, so that it is clear cut. I think it is important that while we give the sweetheart provision, we should also make certain that we are serious about punishing statutory rape. Thank you.
So, Senator
Mr.
Amy,
Chair.
are you of the opinion, therefore, that even if they're lovers or romantically involved, they will be punished?
No, I think they should not be punished, exactly as Senator Risa Ontiveros states. But if one of them is over 18 years old, he should be liable. He or she should be liable.
That is correct. That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
I just want to add a few things here that I think should be merit our attention because it's a Malay in our society. Number one, 1 in every 5 children, as already stated, experience sexual violence. 124, 1 in 25, or 3.2% of all respondents experience forced consummated sex during childhood. And the perpetrators are often family members, and that more boys, this is a surprising thing to me, more boys, 65.2%, than girls, 60.4%, reported experiencing sexual violence. Now, 1 in 4 children reportedly suffered from any form of sexual violence in any setting. Children were reported to have been sexually abused in all settings, at home, at school, and in the community. Prevalence of sexual abuse is higher among older adolescents at 28% than younger adolescents at 22%. The prevalence is also higher among males at 28.7% than females with 20.1%. At home, the majority of reported cases of overall sexual violence are perpetrated by the brother, stepbrother, sister, stepsister, cousin, father, stepfather, and others, spouse partner, while the top perpetrators of sexual violence against females are brothers, stepbrothers, and cousins. The top perpetrators against males are cousins and fathers and stepfathers. These are really eye openers to me. Now, when we get the
Mr. Chair.
yes, go ahead, Senator Lisa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, to further shed light on the issue already raised by Senator Aimee, indeed, regarding this so-called Romeo and Juliet clause or the close in age clause, I just like to add the point that to mitigate the punitive effects of raising the age of sexual consent and possible unintended consequences on relationships between young people close in age, I'm in fact, Mr. Chairman, looking towards introducing a following proviso that provided that there shall be no criminal liability on the part of the perpetrator if the victim is between 14 and 18 years of age. The age difference between the perpetrator and the victim is not more than 4 years, and the sexual act in question is proven to be consensual, non-exploitative, and non-abusive. For the record, Mr. Chairman, also because I regret that in a few minutes I'll have to step out at least briefly to also participate in the hearing of the DILG budget, but look forward to coming back to our hearing in this committee, Mr. Chair, and to seeing this process through till the passage of this historic legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This well taken, Senator Riza, and we shall have to craft language if we agree on all that, on the provisions of both you and Senator Marcos, that indeed, they call it puppy love, and sometimes it's really sincere love. There are many folks who got married while they were wooing a child even below 15, and have ended up having happy marriages. No? We will consider that, and I hope you can craft language also to make sure that we can do that. May I have the thoughts of the others in the chamber? Can you just raise your hands if you have any comments on the bill, please? Please raise your hands.
Well, Mr. Chair, as a follow-up, just a quick follow-up, it may be argued that
Bernie
both
is recognized,
parties.
just for the record. Go ahead, Bernie.
Okay. Hi, Bernie.
Hi,
You're mute. You're mute.
here. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Good morning, Senator Gordon
Good
and
morning.
Senator Marcos and Senator Ontiveros. I'm pleased, very pleased that this bill is now ready to be presented, and I completely endorse this bill. We also worked with the lower house. So they passed the substitute bill with all the bills that they conglomerated together, and the agreed age was below 16 years. But definitely, of course, if we're looking at the best interest of the child, below 18 is the best. I mean, I completely agree with that. But I know that there are other interests, and that's why it became below 16. But we could definitely, a child who is younger than 16 will suffer all the consequences physically, psychologically, socially, the consequences of early sex, especially if it is forced. And as we have seen with all the patients of the women and child protection units across the country, the highest incidence of reported sexual abuse to us is age 13 to 15 years. So it's like as if the perpetrator waited for the child to reach 12 and then did the act. So we really support this bill, and I hope it gets passed. Thank you.
Please. Any other comments from the audience? Yes, Judge Felix.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Senator Marcos. So, on the part of the RTC judges who have jurisdiction over rape cases, if the age for determining statutory rape will be increased, then our job in resolving cases for the additional age will be easier. Because at present, Your Honor, in the prosecution for statutory rape,
We lost you.
Audio, please. Judge, we lost your audio.
yes,
Lost your audio, please.
yes, okay, because at present, there are only two elements to be established in a statutory rape. That the offended party is under 12 years old, and second, the accused had carnal knowledge of the victim. Age of the victim can easily be established by presentation of certificate of live birth, while the second element can be established by the testimony of the victim in court, corroborated by medical findings. In statutory rape, the consent of the victim is immaterial, and force, threat, or intimidation are not necessary in the prosecution of said case. Unlike in ordinary rape, the prosecution needs to reasonably doubt that the sexual intercourse is not consensual and it is committed by using force, threat, or intimidation or abuse of authority. Statutory rape, as we understand, is based on the notion that a woman under a certain age cannot consent to sexual contact or activity because she lacks the maturity or judgment necessary to make a knowing choice about sexual activity. And in one case decided by the Supreme Court, it ruled that the law presumes that the victim in statutory rape does not and cannot have a will of her own on account of her tender years. And the victim's consent is immaterial because her presumed incapacity to discern evil from good. Well, our concern, Your Honor, here is if we judges will be consistent to our understanding about statutory rape, it means that if we increase the age of consent to 15, 16, or 18, so we will consider women of those ages still cannot consent to sexual contact or activity because they lack the necessary maturity or judgment. And if we will apply to them the presumption of the law, uh, that because of their age, they do not and cannot have a will of their own, and they are supposed to be incapacitated to discern evil from good to sexual activity. But we notice, Your Honor, that modern situation will prove otherwise. And if this will happen, then we will convict a person for statutory rape because the victim is under the approved age of consent, although it is established that the victim is fully aware and understand the consequences of the sexual activity and in fact consented to it. Parang ang hirap naman po namin mag-convict pagka ganon. We understand the purpose of the proposed bill. But I read in some jurisdiction in the US that instead of increasing the age for statutory rape, they made sexual intercourse with minor a crime. But they classify it as either a misdemeanor or a felony. If the ages of the minor victim and the accused is less than 3 years apart and in a relationship, or the sexual intercourse happen when both parties are under the influence of drugs or alcohol, then it's just a misdemeanor with light penalties. Otherwise, it will be a felony already with a heavy penalty. Well, Your Honors, with all due respect, while it appears that we judges will not be comfortable if we increase the age of consent for statutory rape, rest assured that whatever will be the amendment to Article 266A, paragraph 1D, as to the new age for statutory rape, we will follow and we will apply it to the letter. Thank you, Your Honor.
Some honorable judge for this very, possible insights. I would like to get the panel's view on this because there's so much information going on throughout the whole, sometimes uncontrolled information, particularly in the internet, and it influences or distorts the values of many of our young people. So much so that they think that sex is a very natural act that they can do it at any time. And of course, the predators of sexual uh, advances would be making it a point to exploit that. Would that be a factor in our decision here that quite a bit of movies, quite a bit of television are very explicit, and quite a bit of literature. If you really come down to it, in the old days, young people got married very, very young, and at the same time, many of them got into sexual relationships at very, very young ages. So I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. I hope you don't mind, but I just want to make sure that everything is considered in the discussion of this bill. Would you care to comment on that? Did I read you right, Judge, that you will follow, but on the other hand, in other jurisdictions like the United States, they have made this sort of situation a misdemeanor, particularly if the ages are between just 3 years apart. That is
So
because
they made
sometimes
sexual, Your Honor,
they already have discernment. Go ahead.
they made you sexual intercourse with minor a crime, although not a statutory rape, but it is a crime. So in some cases, they made it only a misdemeanor, especially if the parties are in a relationship and their ages is less than 3 years apart. So
How old were you, Judge, when you had your first girlfriend?
With all due respect,
Without
Mr. Chair.
without saying anything. When you were young, how old were you when you had your first girlfriend?
yeah, 16, Your Honor.
You refuse to answer on the grounds that you discriminated. But this is a question that I'd like to ask, because some of us had girlfriends at the age of 16, even 14. No? Some of us are well advanced in our proclivities, but some of us are attracted to the other sex. And I'm really surprised here that there are more men or boys that are being exploited. That sounds to me there sounds to be some aberration there, if you will, especially in our society. where the male is supposed to be dominant. And of course, that's fast eroding. Is there a problem there, as you see? Any of the guests, first persons?
Uh, Your Honor, can I make a comment on the voice?
Uh, uh, I'll give you. Pardon me, but I saw Senator Marcos raise her hand. I would like to listen to her first before I listen to you. Go ahead, Senator.
Yes, thanks, Bernie. Yes, Judge, with all due respect and taking into account the precocity of some of our males in the Philippines, I think given the over-sexualized atmosphere that we now have here in the Philippines, as mentioned by our good chairman, the cheap and tawdry shows on lunchtime television, the online exploitation that continues, the high rates of rape and similar crimes against chastity, I think we cannot reduce this very serious crime to a mere misdemeanor. Hindi pa tayo Amerika po. At talagang yung child porn, teenage pregnancy, lahat ng sexual violence, laganap po sa ating lipunan, kailangan sugpuin sa mababang edad. Maraming salamat. Thanks, Chair.
Nakamute.
Come on.
Tito Dick, naka-mute po kayo.
Alright. Okay. Hindi naman tayo nag-ambisyon maging America because I think that's together. Go ahead, Bernadette.
I completely agree with what Senator Marcos said, Your Honors. She got it right on the button. And in the United States, they done studies on the age of statutory rape, and they found out that per age that you increase the age of statutory rape, you decrease the number of sexual abuse. So there is a relationship between the higher the age, they saw the greater the decrease in the rape. So that's why most states, if you look at it, the age of statutory rape is 16, 17, below 18. Not so precisely the age range that we are talking about. That is what they have set as their age of statutory rape. And researchers, because they also look at all the researches of the consequences on the body of the child with regards to having early sex. A long time ago, people married early, but they also died early. So they married at 12 or 13, but they died in their 30s. So it's a different age. Thank you, Your Honors.
What does early death got to do with early sex? I don't see the logic there. But maybe they got they got married early because they were attracted early, and besides, there are a lot of other things that were not present at the time. But here in our society these days, there is a surfeit of all kinds of influential or what we call proximate occasions of sin. It provides, it creates curiosity. Now, of course, here we go, end up with the Romeo and Juliet clause if they're both in love, no? In which case, I think Senator Risa was proposing some sort of a free pass for them. I don't think a total pass, but certainly, you've seen these situations where I have classmates marry at a very tender age because they got the girl pregnant, no? Something that I'm just mulling around just to be sure we have a good law. Are there any other comments, please?
Chairman,
Mr. Peter is here. He's the author of this and he's very passionate about it.
thank you, Chairman. May I be allowed to, first of all, my
Actually,
dear
he's older than his wife by about 30 years.
13 and a half years, but I married her, she was already an adult. Yes. Mr. Chairman, pleasant good morning to you, to Senator Aimee, to our colleagues. I think Senator Risa logged in also, to our justices, of course, all our resource persons, all our experts on the field. Magandang umaga po. May I be allowed to give some few opening remarks, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman Gordon, for prioritizing this hearing on the bills increasing the age for determining statutory rape. I believe this bill is very, very timely due to the following reasons, and these are statistics. Actually, these numbers don't lie. There are alarming cases of child abuse involving children ages 16 and below. And what alarmed me, Mr. Chairman, was about a year ago, if I'm not mistaken, in Laguna. It was in the news. No, it was in headlines in the news where the security guard, who happened to be who liked the same sex, no, was a gay security guard who befriended a 14-year-old boy and became his sugar daddy, if you say. And then when the boy decided to go to have a girlfriend, out of a jealous fit, he killed the boy. And those are some of the cases that we see in the news every day. This would not have happened if there was a statutory rape age, statutory rape law, because that would have been taboo in the first place. That would have been illegal in the first place. In the States or in other countries, even in Europe, when they see a girl and they go to a bar and they see that the girl's very young, the first reaction among friends will say, "Oi, that's jail bait. You're going to go to jail if you go out with a girl or a boy that young." And it has, in many cases, even personally, with people that I know in the United States, they really don't go out with very young kids because they know that they can go straight to jail under the statutory age rape law in the United States. So I believe, Mr. Chairman, the amendment of the revised penal code is long overdue, considering that the revised penal code is 89 years old and it should be put at par with expanding measures to protect children, our most vulnerable and also our most valuable human resource. The Philippines has the lowest age of consent for sexual acts among the countries in Asia. We're the lowest, and one of the lowest in the world at 12. Only bested by Nigeria at age 11. The other countries in Asia have an average age of 16 years old, and that is a fact. The National Baseline Study on Violence Against Children, conducted in 2015, which was led by the Council for the Welfare of Children, in cooperation with UNICEF, the Child Protection Network, and Consuelo Alger for Zobel Foundation and the University of the Philippines, revealed that 1 in every 5 children aged 13 to 17 years old experience sexual violence, while 1 in 25 of all respondents experienced forced consummated sex during childhood. This is unbelievable and barbaric. The Philippines is one of the highest adolescent birth rates among ASEAN member states. Recent World Bank studies show that the Philippines has 47 births annually per 1,000 women aged 15 to 19, higher than the average adolescent birth rate of 44 globally and 33.5 in the ASEAN region. This entails that more than 500 Filipino adolescent girls are getting pregnant and giving birth every day. This is a fact. 500 adolescent girls getting pregnant every day. And yet, the parents are helpless. They cannot charge the lovers, if you say, or if you may, because what would happen is it's a mere penalty of, what is that penalty? It escapes me now. I know the judges and the justices are there and the lawyers. Not acts of lasciviousness, but I forget. I'll remember in a while. I'm getting senior moments, Mr. Chairman. But it's a very, very lean penalty, Mr. Chairman. And if you look at the statistics, of those 500 Filipino adolescent girls that are getting pregnant each and every day, their partners, about 70 to 80% of their partners are adult individuals over the age of 21. So these relationships should have been stopped in the first place with this bill of ours. So as legislators, Mr. President, we need to ensure that our children are protected and that they set measures that will mitigate, if not totally eradicate, these alarming cases and statistics on sexual violence against children and teenage pregnancies. Mr. Chairman, I have a 12-year-old daughter. And I know you have several kids that are all young teens and adolescents that are your apos from your children. We'd like to protect them for the next generation. We have this golden opportunity to be able to do that, to be able to protect our children for the next generation and their children and their children's children. I think we have to go up to the world standards or the average standards of 16 to 18 for statutory rape age. We have to do that now to enable our children to really live their lives to the fullest and not lose their innocence at such a young age. It's such a barbaric act. It should be condemned and should be penalized to the utmost extent, Mr. Chairman. By the way, for the record, I would like to make a amendment already to my bill because my bill initially was at age 15. We want to move it up. We want to increase the age to 16, a statutory rape age. At least the very minimum 16. So I'm making that motion, Mr. Chairman, today to amend my version to 16 years old. The higher the better, Mr. Chairman. The reason why people have been asking why 16 and why not 18 or why not lower. There are some, for example, Senator Risa had suggested that we make it 18. However, some societies and cultures, like in Bukidnon, we have the 7 tribes of Bukidnon, the Talaandig, Sigaonons, the Manobos, the Matigsalog. They marry at an earlier age. But I think 17 is a decent age already, 17 above. So 16 below for statutory rape, I think is still I would say, a reasonable age, Mr. Chairman. And with that, I ask the body, the committee, to earnestly to earnestly pass the measure and support the measure, Mr. Chairman. This is a happy bill. When I say it's a happy bill, it's going to make it's going to do a lot of good for our people and for our society, Mr. Chairman. Only those who want to go out with 14-year-old boys and girls and 13-year-old boys and girls are sick in the mind. Are sick in the mind, Mr. Chairman. These are not only pedophiles, but they're predators. And these predators, like many predators and wild animals, have to, they cannot roam around the streets. They should be put in bars, Mr. Chairman. Of course, I don't want to insult wild animals because I'm a wildlife conservationist. And wild animals should be in the forest. But these are animals. These people are animal. Sa Bisaya, mga animal ni sila. And they should be in jail. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Well put, Mix, Senator Mix, and and passionately at that. And I don't blame you. I really support it. But I just want to point out, though, that this may collide, and I'd like to ask Judge Reyes here. This may collide with the Republic Act number 9344 or the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act. I'm sure Senator Zubiri and Senator Marcos are aware of this. Raises the age of criminal responsibility from 9 years of age under Presidential 603 to a minimum of 15 years of age. So if you're a child and you commit a crime at the age of 15, there is some elbow room that is given to this case. Raises the age of criminal responsibility from 9 years to age of 15. And all are exempted from criminal liability unless the prosecution proves that they acted with discernment. We just passed that bill, I think, last year, no, Senator Zubiri?
Yes, actually, that was passed 2 Congresses ago, Mr. Chairman. But may I add, Mr. Chairman, we also want to. There are situations, and we have to be very clear about the situations wherein the children, the teenagers, have girlfriends and boyfriends. Let's not forget that we were once teenagers, and we also had teenage girlfriends who are kaedad natin, who are our age. We cannot stop that from happening. So, Mr. Chairman, may I propose that in the United States they have a Romeo and Juliet provision in the law, wherein if the age gap is relatively close together, for example, a 17-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl, or vice versa, in the United States, they are lenient about that with consent. Obviously, if the girl doesn't want to have sex with the boy, then that is rape. But if they're in a relationship, then that is not statutory rape, Mr. Chairman. We are only targeting. My bill is targeting the adults. My bill is targeting the adults who are preying on helpless teenagers who still do not have the mental faculties to really fathom what it is to be an innocent child or to be an adult. Sa madaling usapan, Mr. Chairman, many of them have been bamboozled or fooled into these relationships for whatever reason or another, which should have been prevented under our law. So there is a Romeo and Juliet provision in the US, Mr. Chairman, which allows similarly aged children, no, with the relationship. Hindi po yan statutory rape. So maybe that can help. We can put that in the bill. We can put that in the committee report. That's similar setup that they have in the United States, Mr. Chairman. Ang ayaw lang po natin, the man is 22 years old, the man is 25 years old, the man is 45 years old going out with a 14-year-old girl. That in any civil society is wrong in any language, Mr. Chairman. So that is what we're trying to target here, sir.
We should have to reckon with the age of criminal responsibility that we may have to amend later because of this. No? I think some people are raising their hand. Thank you, Mix. I saw Ms. Cuevas, May Zaira Cuevas of Philippine Commission on Women. Your comments, please.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Mr. Chair. The Philippine Commission on Women highly supports all of these legislative proposals to amend the anti-rape law, as this is one of the laws containing several discriminatory provisions identified under the implementing rules and regulations of the Magna Carta of Women. We also recommend increasing the age of sexual consent to at least 16 years of age, and thus raising the age for determining the commission of statutory rape. This is in line with the recommendation of the UN CEDAW Committee in its 2016 concluding observations in the Philippines Combined 7th and 8th Periodic Report. We also support the close-in age exemption or sweetheart clause as proposed by Senators Ontiveros, Marcos, and Zubiri for the same reasons shared at the earlier portion of the hearing. Further, Your Honor, while the subject bills are focused on the matter of statutory rape, we also hope that the honorable legislators will consider the amendment of other provisions of the anti-rape law to address some concerns in Article 266C as to the effect of pardon by the offended party and 266D as to disputable presumptions. We also note that there might be a corresponding necessity to adjust the age for determining the commission of crimes of chastity under the revised penal code and other special laws. We also have additional recommendations for the equalization of penalties for rape and sexual assault, as well as additional aggravating circumstances, which will be further discussed in our position paper, Your Honor. We hope that this will be considered in the finalization or the consolidation of this bill.
Thank you. So their position is 16.
Yes.
Let me just call Nenita Dalde because she's been raising her hand earlier. Child Rights Network. Please go ahead and try to make it short because I still have another hearing after this.
Yes, good morning, Senator. Our position paper will be read by my executive director. I just want to point out two things. One is we agree with the 16 years old sexual consent, but statutory rape at 15. But CRN is proposing a ladderized approach, so 3 different brackets po. And our position paper is a product of many consultations, including with the family court judges. So our position paper now will be read by my executive director. If you can.
Thank you, Nets. Your Honor, if I may, please. The Child Rights Network and PLCPD strongly support adopting 15 years of age as the new minimum age to determine statutory rape. And we would like to put forward some recommendations that the authors to consider additional definitions of rape, including when and how it is committed, such as the following. Rape can be committed by any person and not just by a male or a female, as cited in Senate Bill 163. So that rape would include the act of inserting or causing the insertion of a person's penis, finger, instrument, or object into another person's inner or outer vaginal labia, anal orifice, or mouth. Under any of the following circumstances, we would like the committee to consider the following in the definition: by force, threat, intimidation, deception, or coercion, abuse of authority or moral ascendancy, or other fraudulent machinations, or when the victim is incapable or has been rendered incapable of giving consent by reason of physical, mental, or psychological disability or condition of the victim. On the Romeo and Juliet clause, Your Honor, we would like to support the position of Senator Riza Ontiveros, Zubiri, and of course, Senator Marcos. But our proposal is a ladderized approach, Your Honor, in close-in age exemption provision. Uh, for consensual, non-abusive, and non-exploitative sexual activity between a person below 16 years of age and another who is also 15 years of age and above, provided that the age difference does not exceed 4 years. A person below 14 years of age with another person whose age does not exceed 3 years, this is for lower age, Your Honor, and a person below 13 years old with another person whose age difference does not exceed 2 years. We would like to submit this. I think the position papers has already been submitted, so the details are there, Your Honor. And we also would like for the committee.
Why don't you expand on it? I'd like to see you expand on that. I mean, it's kind of confusing the way you put it.
Sir, for example, if you have this is an example, a girl who is 15 years of age and a male who is older, the close-in age provision should not more than 4 years, 4 years of age difference.
So you
So
want
4 years lang
you
po
want a minimum of 4 years difference.
for older.
So if the guy is 21 and the girl is 16, he comes under the purview of statutory rape. Is that what you're saying?
Sir, that's 5 years already.
I know.
For below,
So I ask you that question.
sir, 4 years lang po.
4 years.
4 years
Why?
difference.
What is the difference? A 16-year-old girl can fall in love with a 30-year-old guy,
Sir, our
or a
proposal.
45-year-old guy.
Yes, sir. Sir, our proposal
There
is
will be psychological reasons for that. Maybe she never had a father, and she's in love with this guy because he's a father-like figure to her.
Sir, our proposal is below 16 years of age. So that would be a scenario: a 15-year-old girl and a 19-year-old boy. Those are both are adolescents. So
So that's really restrictive to me, because if they consent, 16 years old, in our law done in 1996, 15 years old are considered to have age of discernment. That's my problem. That's about the next question I'm going to ask the judges. When do we start saying you have discernment already? Certainly, we don't want children exploited by stronger men, men who give them money, men who subject them to all these things. But certainly, mahihirapan naman iba, women and men can get attracted to each other at the age of 16. Some girls at 16, they look very mature already. Or 15, they look very mature. So you really have to. I'm scared to put in a minimum years, because to me it is discernment that is the situation that we should look at, and that's where the psychiatrists come in. If she acts with discernment, then that is for a scientist like a psychiatrist who will make the determination. But age is not a standard that fits all. I certainly agree with everybody that it should be 16 or 15 years old below. Actually, my position is 15 years old simply because I don't want it to collide. And that's why my next question is, which I'd like the judge to answer, is there is a collision here. The previous law says 15 is the age of discernment, in which case they will now be prosecuted if they acted with discernment. Now you're putting it at 16, and that is 1 year. Is there a special element here that we're missing? Otherwise, we would have to amend that, Senator Subiri, and make it all 16, right?
Sir,
And
if I
make
may,
it uniform.
Sir, if I may, there are...
I'm asking the judge right now.
Okay,
Ron.
sir. Sorry po. Apo. Sige
Judge,
po.
go ahead. Yes, Judge Felix.
Well, totoo po yun, Your Honor, because under Republic Act 10630, amending RA 9344, below 15 years are exempt from criminal liability. 15 years and below 18 are also exempt from criminal liability, except if they acted with discernment.
Correct.
So I have a case of rape. Victim is 14 years old, and the accused is below 15 years. So, exempt po yung kwan. So, wala rin po nangyari sa kwan. They were both brought to the DSWD for their corresponding diversion or whatever. So, yun nga po, medyo kuwan nga rin do po doon. Well, actually, yung pong yung pananaw po na, kasi ang pananaw po natin doon sa statutory rape, yung po ay, kasi po kaya natin pinaparusahan ang nakipagtalik sa isang 12 taon. Kasi ang pananaw po natin, at yun naman po yata, based on medical findings, na below 12 years old, talagang wala pa po silang sapat na kaalaman para malaman nila yung tama at mali tungkol po doon sa pakikipagtalik. Ngayon, kung atin pong itataas yung age of consent sa 16 or 18, so ganun din po ilalagay namin sa aming desisyon na yung age 16 or age 18 ay talagang wala pa silang sapat na kaalaman. They don't have the enough maturity and judgment with respect to their knowledge as to the sexual activity. Pero alam naman po natin sa kasalukuyan po, hindi na po gayon ang nagiging ng mga ganong kabataan. So yun lang po ang aming kwan. Kagaya po ng sinabi ko kanina, dapat nga po magustuhan namin niya. Sapagkat sa statutory rape, dalawang element lang po. Ang mahirap po talagang for us judges to resolve ay yung ordinary rape. Because we will have to establish whether it is consensual or not, whether it is coupled with force, lalo na nga po yung mga sweetheart. Yung pong ang problema po natin, even if we include it as an as a valid defense, pero i-raise po ito ng accused kasi yung pong sweetheart theory or Romeo and Juliet, pero they still need to prove it in court. And meantime, nakakulong po sila. Ito po ang maraming experience na share po sa akin ng mga judges na usually nangyayari sa mga probinsya. 16 years old na mag-girlfriend, mag-boyfriend or below 18, nagtatanan. Dahil hindi pa pwedeng ipakasal, binabawi ng magulang yung babae. Tapos minsan napipilit na dahil gustong paghiwalayin, sasabihin, tuturuan yung bata na sabihin na siya'y pinilit. Sasamahan sa pulis, papailan. Ngayon, during the in most cases, as shared to me by some judges, during the hearing and at the time that the victim will testify, na medyo nagtagal na nawala na yung takot sa magulang, nakita na yung dating boyfriend na nakakulong at nakakuan, during the hearing, the victim will admit, hindi naman po talaga ako pinilit. If we will, pagka po ang age of consent, halimbawa nga po 16, even during the hearing, even if the victim will admit that she was not forced, statutory rape din po yun. So, because we increase the age of consent to, let's say, 16 or 17.
You can increase 18, but that will always be something that will happen, wouldn't it?
Well,
I did not act with discernment. I acted because I'm poor. You know, the whole essence behind statutory rape is number one, you're protecting the child, correct? Because you're assuming that wala siyang discernment.
And the
Number
body.
two, the other thing that comes in with it is the evil, the exploitative, the predatory tendency of a senior person to take advantage of the tender years or the poverty of the kid. Would you all agree on that?
Agree, Your Honor.
Di ba? And that is
Agree, Your
why
Honor.
doon sa law na ginawa namin, 15 years old ang ginamit, and between 18, they have to prove that they acted with discernment. Now, I don't want to give a pass to a predator. Ay sasabi ni Senator Sugini. May mga predator talaga, they specialize on getting Desi ang tawag nila. Di ba? This is a is.
Mr. Chairman.
So I just want to make sure that we make the right decision here. Now, hindi magkukulay yung mga bills, yung mga and at the same time, Senator Subiri?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tama po kayo, yung sinasabi mo. May mga ads pa dati, di ba? Nakatikim ka na ng 14. Di ba? That is really gross, to say the least. But it's been that, but it promotes machoism. So we have to get rid of that. Yes, to our distinguished legal luminaries. Actually, ang ating punto at dulo ng ating batas na panukala is really for the adults. The chair will have to discuss and how we can word it, the language, together with the legal luminaries on Romeo and Juliet case, katulad sinabi ni Judge Felix Reyes na may mga kaso 16 and 19, 16 and 17. That is something that was not really in the center of my proposal. The center of my proposal is an adult, 21 and above, going out with a person who is 16 and below. Yun ang target talaga natin. Because statistics show 80% of the adolescents that are giving birth every day, 80% were with adults, with adult men, and older men, and elderly men. So yun po ang aking target nito, Tito Dick. Because yung sinasabi na age of, in the law, women and children, or the, is that the bill of Kiko? Yung sa...
Yes.
Yeah, the Juvenile Justice Bill.
Right.
That is when a criminal is 15 years old and below.
Right.
That is for a criminal that is 15 years old and below. Now, the criminal that we focus here is not the woman. The criminal that we're focusing here is the adult man who's preying on the woman. That 15-year-old, 14-year-old, or 16-year-old girl will be protected by this law. She will not go to jail. In statutory rape cases, the victim obviously does not go to jail. Who goes to jail is the one who has the relationship with an underage individual. Yan po yung target natin dyan. I think kasi yung juvenile justice targets kids that do criminal activities at a certain age. Our target here, Mr. Chairman, is really for the adults who prey on these little kids. So yan ang ating target. So maybe we can make the law very simple. You can keep it at the statutory rape age. Those 21 and above, or adults who go out with or have relationships with 16-year-old children and below, automatic statutory rape. And that simplifies everything. And that whether they prove it or not in court, all they have to do is prove the age. The child will say, I'm 15 years old, and this gentleman who decided to date me and had a relationship with me at a certain age, I didn't know what I was doing at the time, because we are in the modern times now, but still, napakadaling magbola, makipag-coerce ng bata na musmus. Whether boy or girl ito, Chairman, and in the United States, it does not distinguish between boy or girl. Because there are many instances where children in the United States, the charges are filed against them, and the sexual predators in the states, Mr. Chairman, are even required to report to their community that they have a conviction or they were a sexual predator, conviction for sexual predation or for statutory rape or whichever acts of lasciviousness.
That should be one of our bills. Make sure that these people who are predators are identified, and that they should be given. There should be a registry. There should be a registry, and we should put a bill like that. But I just want to say this, no? Tama ka that we are protecting, in the case of the child, the criminal criminal-prone child, age of discernment yung pinag-uusapan yung 15. And like I said, tama rin ako sinabi ko, these cases are really covered by predator, usually exploitative, no? And that's where I go to another point. Nowadays, women, pinapain yan eh. When I've been in direct class for a long time, and I remember one delegate of direct class from Belgium told me, can you please do something about the children in this mall? They're very young and they come to me and they say, do you want me? I'm 14, I'm 15. And so it becomes a very exploitative situation, sometimes by parents, sometimes by syndicates. And I'm sure all these experts will tell us that there are people who are doing that exactly. And that's where we must really come out uh, in the courts to make a determination where there is exploitation on both sides. Now, kung totoo talaga ni rape, like, a father, a mother, or a brother or a sister raping a boy or girl, whatever it is, no? That's one aspect. The other two is somebody exploits the poverty of the child. Binibigyan ng magandang regalo. There are Americans who do that. Sometimes in Clark, in Subic, that has been the accusation by many. They take care of the family, they have the child, and they have a sex feast with the child. So these are things that has come into play, and I need to know exactly how we can craft good law to cover all these situations if that is possible. Would the panel tend to agree that there are exploitative situations sometimes on both sides, more so from the older people, but also from the younger people being prodded by the parents because of their poverty to go in. I'll give you an example. Many actresses start at 16, 15. I remember sila Alma Moreno. All these people were being made to and they have to go through very, very bad directors who took advantage of them, or young men who have to go through, men or who practically rape them so that they will get a better rule. These are the things that I think we have to also consider. I don't want to prolong the discussion. We can make it simple and say 16, pag ni-rape, pagka ginalaw mo, right away, boom. Pero siguro, I don't know kung merong exploitation kasama yung babae, that could be mitigating. That could be mitigating. I'm just looking at that aspect. Any comments? Yes, I can't see your name.
Yes, hello,
Jean,
Senator.
Paclarin, yes.
Yes, good morning,
British Legal and Human
Senator.
Rights Bureau. I'm sure you have a
Yes,
very interesting position.
yes, good morning, Senator Gordon. We will be submitting our position, but mainly one point. There are 4 points that we would like to raise. Number one is the seeming inconsistent definition of children in our laws. I think that's where we're coming from. In the Magna Carta and in RA 7610, our definition of children is below 18. And there are some considerations why we put it that way. No? At tingin namin, Senator Gordon, isa ito sa parang nagiging problem no, in terms of the differing definition of how we define children. For WLB and in support also of the Child Rights Network, we are actually proposing also the age of at least 16. No? Although in the House, they approved the age of 15. But particularly for WLB, we think that the best age is at least 16. No? Although this is still inconsistent in terms of how we define children, because our definition of children is below 18. So that's one point that I would like to call the attention of the Senate. The second point that I would like to raise in relation to the cases that we reviewed, Supreme Court decided cases that we reviewed from 1992 to 2018, majority of the cases, 60% of the cases, including sexual violence, victims are between the age of 12 to 17. At yung gusto po namin i-raise dito, why we wanted to increase the age of sexual consent is because we want to prevent the harrowing experience of children. So if you're, let's say, 13, 14, 15, you're being asked questions that are asked to adult women also. Did you consent to it? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Lilabasan ka ba? And so on and so forth, which are not actually appropriate questions to ask among children. And I think that's the main point why we wanted to increase the age of statutory rape or the sexual consent. Because the second point that we would like to raise, Senator, is the problem with the law is that it lacks sexual consent. No? Sexual consent is not the center of the law. So ano po ba ibig namin sabihin ng Senator? Pag po adult woman, kailangan mong i-prove na merong fraudulent machination, merong threat, may baril ba, sinaktan ka ba, tinakot ka pa. I think one of the main, I think this is particularly present in Senator Risa's proposal to put lack of consent at the center of the law. Ang pinoprove natin, nag-consent ba? Because most of the time, we are also using the sweetheart theory also against the woman. There are a lot of Supreme Court decided cases where the perpetrator was hindi po sila napatunayan nagkasala because the sweetheart theory was also used. So parehas lang po. And that's the reason I think why CRN is also proposing for the close-in age gap, because we are also concerned about the LGBT groups, Senator, na minsan kinakasuhan po sila ng parents kasi hindi tanggap po nung parents nung lesbian o no gay na lesbian or gay ang anak nila. At kapag nakipagrelasyon sila sa medyo may konting edad, kakasuhan po sila ng rape, no? So isa po 'yon sa mga reason why we are also proposing the closing age gap, but at the same time looking into protecting also the women and girls. Although this is so yun lang po
16.
muna, sir, and we will just submit, sir, the position paper po.
I just have a question, Jelen. By closing age gap, what do you mean? 16?
Proposed po by CRN Network po, no? So may consideration po kami doon sa usapin na kung medyo magkalapit po yung kasi pinoproteksyonan din po natin na alam naman natin na at 16 may mga kabataan na engaging in sex. And actually isang concern nga po namin, if you want to make it more complicated, Senator, sa RPRH law natin, ang pag-access po, sir, natin sa mga bata ng mga contraceptives ay with parental consent kung minor ang bata. So kung titignan niyo po, yung mga bata na 16, 15, which are all minor, they cannot access contraceptives. I'm just trying to prove a point, no? Because they are being treated minor. But for this case, sinasabi natin ang age of sexual consent ay 16. So we're actually looking na may mga nagsesex po na mga kabataan 16, 17, and we also don't want to penalize them. And that's the reason why CRN is also proposing a 4-year age gap po.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Senior Deputy State Prosecutor, you have a long title. I don't know your name. Joselita Mendoza. Jolie. You're still on mute.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. It is the position of the department that the age of consent be raised from 12 years to 16 years. We totally agree with the arguments raised by Senator Zubiri. My basis would be from the statistics given by the Task Force on Human Trafficking and the Board of Claims that the victims ranges from 12 to 16 years old. Majority of the cases arise from child abuse, teenage pregnancies, unwarranted pregnancies, gang rape, etc. So, Mr. Chair, it is a position, I reiterated the position of the DOJ that the age of consent be raised from 12 to 16 years old. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, Bernadette, you have another comment?
Yeah, just a short one, Your Honor. I think what we have to also to consider is not just the age of discernment. I think that's your concern, the age of discernment. We have also to consider the effect on the body of the child why we are saying 16. The effect of early sex, increasing the probability of sexually transmitted infection because the vaginal canal is still too young, to have sex. And if they get pregnant, the consequences of all the bad pregnancies because they're too young to be pregnant, and also the risk for cancer is also higher, cervical cancer especially if they have sex at such an early age. That's why we say 16. No, so it's not just age of discernment, Your Honor. It's also the effect on the body.
Bernadette, don't get me wrong. Age of discernment was for criminal liability.
Yes, Your Honor. That's why it was
Basically
16.
because there may be a conflict in the law that could be raised as a defense later on. The more
Yes.
concern I have is the externalities. The fact that you have people like parents, and I'm sure Judge Reyes, have you seen that happen? I know. I was mayor of Olongapo. I used to jail parents who were telling their kids to go out there and get an American. I went after an American pedophile all the way to Guam. The parents were nowhere to be seen because they were part and parcel of that. Under the Child and Youth Welfare Code, they should have been part of the criminals that have been placed there at. Ang problema naman, pag kinulong mo, saan mo lalagay yan? Kulang rin yung mga social services ka natin. On the other hand, ang sinasabi ko, externalities, I'll tell you one. I was also in the movies, the theater, and I know that many of the kids that came out, pinakailaman ng mga director yan, ng mga producer. At gano'n rin yung mga lalaki, pinakailaman rin. So, are we exempted them? Are we exempting them from the situation? Sa akin, very exploitative sa akin. Yung bata, walang kalaban-laban, 16 years old, ginalaw mo. Pero pag may nagtutulak doon sa bata to do it, that is even more guilty. Di ba?
Dapat kasama sa kaso yung nagtulak sa bata.
Correct, because I remember in the early years of the law, rape was forgivable. It was a personal offense. It wasn't a public crime. When you were charged with rape in about 30 years ago, forgiveness o binayaran yung babae, finorgive, wala na yung rape. Memory serves correct. But now that has been changed, right, Judge? Hindi na pwede yun. So ngayon, ang nangyayari, parang tinutulak yung bata towards prostitution. Alam mo anak, wala tayong pera, may sakit ako. Sige, kumalawit ka na dyan ng somebody. Yun ang gusto kong mapigil. Because again, from the social point of view, the state must also take care. That's why we're giving 4 Ps. Para the parents should have something. Para the child would not be forced to do things that she's not supposed to do. On the other hand, mas masakit yung ginagawa ng mga lalaki na sabi nga na ni Juan na nakakuha ka na ng 14, may mga sili pa nga, 14. You remember the movie, 14? 15, Desi, 16. These are the people that talagang must be punished. So ako, I'm going for 16. But I'd like to see whether we can put another colatilla in the law that punishes parents or other people, guardians, or people in control of these people, in custody of these people, to make them go into this situation. And for that matter, yung mga lalaki na wala na tayong itataas sa reclusion perpetua. Reclusion perpetua yan eh. So yung mga nanay, yung mga kamag-anak, yung mga director, pwede ba natin ipasok yan? What do you think, Mix?
I leave it to the wisdom of the committee, Mr. Chairman. Pwede the legal luminaries.
There's no such thing as a legal luminary. Everybody claims to be a legal luminary.
I'm not a lawyer, sir. I'm an agriculturist environmentalist. So I leave it to the, of course, the passionate legal luminaries.
What do you think, Judge? Judge, we have a professional, legally appointed judge here. Do you think we should include them or no more? Just make it simple.
Well, Your Honor, I think, if I may not mistaken, I think it's already included. Is it 7610? Punishing parents or guardian. I think
between
I think it's covered already. Some of them was already
Mr.
covered.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, with the permission of Judge Phoenix. Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Actually, the parents, Mr. Chairman, majority of them do not want this for their children. As a matter of fact, they're the ones who file the cases. But as I mentioned, I remember now the penalty for an adult going out with a young child. It's acts of lasciviousness, Judge, di ba po? Acts of lasciviousness nang maifa-file sa kanila ng mga magulang. Napakahina pa ng mga penalties nun, Mr. Chairman. So, yeah, it's an idea to punish the parents, but in actuality, most parents do not want these relationships to happen in the first place. And I think with a law like this, a law such as that statutory rape age, law, I think they have now the ammunition, no, that they can warn these individuals na makukulong ka, sige, tuloy nyo pa pagligaw sa anak ko, papailan kita ng kaso. There's a deterrence already. There's a deterrence.
Well,
I think that's what's important.
Senator Sibili, let me just add what we put in the law, all right? Section 8. Section 10. I was just asking so that I would know what the judge's thoughts are and what all your folks' thoughts are. In Section 8, my proposal there is Section 10 of Republic Act number 76 is hereby amended to read as follows. I'm afraid this is not strong enough. Section 10, other acts of neglect, abuse, cruelty, or exploitation and other conditions prejudicial to the child's development. And I read Section B, any person who shall keep or have in his company a minor, 15 or under, or who in 10 years or more is junior in any public or private place, like a hotel, motel, beer joint, discotheque, cabaret, pension house, soda or massage parlor, beach, and or other tourist resort or similar places shall suffer the penalty of prison mayor or a fine of not less than 50 or 50,000 pesos. There's a typo here. Provided that this provision shall not apply to any person who's related within the fourth degree of consanguinity or affinity or any bond recognized by any law, custom, local custom, tradition, or action the performance of a social, moral, or legal duty. I think it punishes enough, but not quite enough. For example, yung sinasabi ko sa mga production ng movies, sa TV, wala yan dyan. Wala yan dyan. Judge, would you like us to add something else there?
Well, I'm not a family court judge, but this Republic Act 7610, as the title says, Your Honor, it's for the protections against child abuse and exploitation and discrimination. So, I'm not pretty sure whether there were many accused that's been charged under this for the way that you like it, Mr. Chair, against the director, against the producer.
I'm trying to jog my memory. There's supposed to be a law that puts their children into immoral conditions. Meron tayong law dyan sa penal code, if I'm not mistaken, or parents who or guardians who put their wards or children into a situation where they're forced into prostitution or what have you. Let me see. Again, Section 7 of R7610. Those who commit the act of sexual intercourse of lascivious conduct with a child exploited in a prostitution or subject to other sexual abuse. Provided when the 15 is under 15, automatic yon, rape yon, no? Under 335. For rape and Article 336 is amended. Provided that the penalty, or hindi ito eh. It is the parents or people. I will check that law before I finalize this. There is a law that says, I wonder if the senior deputy state prosecutor can remember that law. Any child or anybody pushing their children into immoral conduct or situation that puts them in peril, no?
Senator Gordon, it's RA 9262. It's RA 9262, the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act.
Yeah.
But if it's the husband pushing the woman or his child to enter into prostitution or any immoral acts per se. So it's under RA 9262. And I think also some of the acts that you've mentioned also can also be included or refer to the anti-trafficking law. Although, of course, not too many people are filing a case against their parents under the anti-trafficking law.
Yeah. But that doesn't make it right. It should be the state that should step in. Don't you think so?
But sir, the
In America,
anti-trafficking
the
law,
state will step in.
yes, anti-trafficking law, sir, it's a public crime. It's a
You
public
leave a
crime.
baby in a car unattended, and that's a crime in America. With more reason when you push your child into prostitution, that is obviously a crime, and custody will be taken away from you. Yes, Senior Prosecutor Jolly.
The
We can
RA
hear you.
10364, it states here under section K that the use, procuring, or offering a child for prostitution, for production of pornography or pornographic performances, etc., they're liable for the anti-trafficking law.
Or
Trafficking law po, human
yeah,
trafficking law that has been
that's
amended.
what I'm referring to, but it doesn't go
Yes
far
po.
enough. In this particular case, pinagbibili ang anak doon sa yung sa mga sine nung araw. Pinagbibili ang anak doon sa mayaman sa baryo, sa probinsya para makuha, iiwanan yung anak doon, di ba? There should be a crime that should be added to this.
Meron po, sir, under RA 9262 po, sir. It's under Republic
Anti-trafficking law?
RA Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act, sir. There's a
Maybe
certain provision.
we can make reference to that here then.
I'll search for it, sir. I'll get
Yeah.
back to you.
All right. I think we've heard enough. I would like to see that your position papers are taken. And Attorney Helen Paclarin, Prosecutor Jolie, please submit your position paper on the matters that I discussed. See whether we can craft it into the law. I'm agreed that it should be 16 years old. I have no doubt about that. I just wanted to make sure that we have a good discussion on it. And I want to make sure that we have a tight law where the accused will not say, oh, it was consensual, oh, it was forced upon me by the mother. And if that is the case, then we can go after the mother under the anti-trafficking law as well. And I think it should have a heavier penalty. So kindly make that solution. If we cannot put it in this law, we can put it in another bill that I can file.
Senator Gordon, it's section 5, paragraph B of RA 9262.
Nakamute.
Huh? You're on mute, Rom. Ram, are you there?
No, sir, I'm not raising my hand. Sorry.
No, I asked, do you have a position paper?
Yes, sir. We submitted our position paper to the committee earlier.
Well, again, I chastise my community secretary because I've not gotten it. Sometimes we're working so fast here. I chastise you gently, but kindly send me the position paper so we can study it. Because my staff hasn't gotten it either. All right, if that's the case, with the position papers, would you agree, Senator Subiri, that we can, and Senator Marcos, that we can already come up with a law that we can pass out, we can move
Yes.
forward after we complete it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve it on committee level so that you can come up with a committee report. I guarantee you, Mr. Chairman, that we will store this in the floor very well and make sure that we pass it at the fastest possible time. I've gotten support amongst almost all our colleagues already, Mr. Chairman. I think it's just a matter of tweaking. Some have suggestions on the age and all, but definitely this law will pass, Mr. Chairman. We promise all our stakeholders that before Christmas we'll have a statutory rape age law with my Batman. You know, Senator Gordon is Batman. I'm Robin in the plenary floor. So I just listen to his instructions. We'll make it happen as your majority leader.
Thank you. And of course,
Thank
you
you,
have
Chairman.
Batwoman here, Amy Marcos.
Amy Marcos is the Batgirl.
Batgirl. Ano ba? Batwoman daw.
Basta hindi lang Catwoman.
Mas maganda yung Batwoman. I think Senator Binay is about to join the hearing. I'd like to wait for it, if you don't mind, just a couple of minutes more. We are very, very accommodating for our fellow senators. Senator Binay is a very passionate advocate of our causes, and I think he's one of our allies here. So,
Yeah.
so
Actually,
Nancy, you're around.
Chairman, the problem today is, and the problem that we've had every day, especially with Zoom meetings and online meetings, is that there are like 3 or 4 online meetings going at the same time. So there's the budget hearing for DILG on one side, our committee hearings on the other, and today especially, I'd say important because there's also a basketball game that we're watching, which is East against West finals.
Ano tayo
So
eh,
far,
talo
Mr.
tayo.
Chairman, nananalo ang LA Lakers.
Magbabayad tayo ng sandwich kay Senate President.
Bato. Mukhang si Bato po at si Tolentino ang magbabayad po pag matalo today ang Miami Heat.
Kaya lang tayo sa kanila.
Mambo-blow out po sila ng cheeseburger.
Yeah. Unbeknownst to you, I had my other TV here watching quietly.
Mine also.
Anyway, Nancy Binay, are you there already? We'll just have a recess for a couple of minutes if you don't mind, so she can make her statement as well. We'll try to push this over the weekend so that we can file it on the committee report on Monday. If that's okay with the senator, Majority Floor Leader.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Maybe we can even pass it before the break. Baka kaya na po natin ma-second reading to. Ano pa?
Senator Bina is here. Nancy, are you going to join us? Asa DILG ka? O sige. All right, but I will just make that record. Session is resumed. Let me put it on record that Senator Binay is on virtual telephone conversation with us. And you agree with the 16-year-old, Nancy? Say that again, please.
Chair, I also filed the bill.
Yes, I know.
Increasing the age to 16.
Okay, we just approved that right now. So Senator Binay is virtually present here. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. On that note, I will just suspend just in case I have to come back to you. But if I'm able to complete it to the agreement of all the committee members, I will proceed to file it on committee report already. Thank you all very much. You have been a very, very wonderful set of resource persons, very alert and very, very assertive. Thank you all very much. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you po, Senator.
Thank you, Chairman.